Hey there, welcome back. Today we talk about how I set up my Octatrack 2 with a Faderfox and how I use it live. I already did more general video explaining my setup, but I thought that would be interesting to go in detail and show you guys how I set up all of my channels and then how I mapped them on the Faderfox. So I just got this Pc12 that is pretty amazing, and it's pretty easy to set up, and just you can map anything. You can have a lot of preset and setup, so it gives you the chance to work on different pages of the Octatrack at the same time. So it really opens up the live possibilities. Since I'm using this setup just for live improvisational kind of set, I wanted to have the chance to modify each parameter in a very fast way. Now, the only problem would be that I have to remember how I mapped every single knob, and that is pretty intense because there's, I think, 72 different knobs, plus button, plus an encoder. So it will take a little time to get very proficient and know what I'm doing, but just to give you a first idea I have. So I use track 1 and track 2 are set up as track 1 my Thru machine, and it's used with my Vermona. So the Vermona, all the 4 channel, I actually decided to just go with a stereo out from the Vermona into the track 1. Track 2 is a neighbor machine. So I can use a filter, a delay on track 1, filter, a lo-fi, and a dark reverb on track 2. At the same way, I have track 3 and track 4. Track 3 is the Thru machine for C and D, and I'm using right now with my TR8. I was trying with the electron rhythm, but I find out that it's too much for me using that live and not very easy for me to improvise with that. So TR8 gives me more chances. It's more simple, more straightforward. So I decided to go with that for now. And basically I mirrored the same setup as track 1 and track 2. So I have a filter and delay on track 3, lo-fi and dark reverb on track 4. So as you can hear, now you can hear both. How did I map this guy here? So basically this first 2 row or column, I think column. So the first 2 column are my track 1 and 2. So basically these 2 work on my Vermona, and these 2 will work on the TR8 or whatever I will plug there. So that's also, I set up the button here to mute the thing. So they will of course mute track 1 to 8. But since this is a neighbor, you just enable 2 and 4 to hear that. So that's a very convenient way. The audio is actually coming from MIDI, so I'm using the Midi track here to send the MIDI info to the Vermona. And I actually mapped here these last 4 as my 4 MIDI track that I use for the 4 different voices. So as you can see, I can turn it on and off, and it's pretty convenient because in the midst of a live set you just click a button and everything works. So I have on the first 2 knobs is my delay. So I'll show you on the page. Track 1. So the first one is a send, and the second one is the feedback. cool thing here is that I can put the feedback to the maximum, send something, and then I have a loop going on. So at this point I can just turn off the volume, and this keep going. Of course I set up the bass and width, so the bass is just kind of fade out the lower frequency, but this is pretty useful for live situation, for doing like interesting transition. At the same time I have the same control on the drum. Alright. Then I have my reverb here that is in track 2. Alright. So in this case I just decided to add the mix. The reverb even is in send. Same on the drum. Next 3 buttons here are my filter. So this is the bass, width, and the Q. Okay, then alright, then here these 4 I actually mapped to the lo-fi effect that I start using it lately because I didn't ever really dig into it, but it's actually very interesting. So I have a distortion here, you have the bit reduction, and these two is this last 2 parameter here. That the hell I know if what they do, but I like, it's pretty fun to use them live. You can hear how just with the same sequence, having the chance to touch all of these things at the same time, it's pretty interesting what you can do, and it's going to be way more interesting when we work with the sample tracks. So one cool trick that I use is just like I save the part of the Octatrack. So whenever I load, I save like you do like this, and you can save it. So I can mess everything, right? And maybe get to a point where I don't really know what I did so far. So what I can do now, I just reload the parts and everything will go back to the initial state. So I can do very weird transition. Now the problem is like the potentiometer. If you don't, there's a way to connect the Midi out of the Octa inside the Pc12, so they communicate on the situation of the knob, where the knob should be. So right now, if I move the knobs, it will jump to where the knob is now. So that is a little annoying, and I have to think about it, but it's still the first iteration of this setup, so I'm working on it. The last 2 knobs, I have an LFO here, and I mapped it to the depth of the LFO here, that is mapped to the filter width, and it's a random, so it creates some, as you hear, some kind of variation. And then the track volume. See? So basically, these and these are mirrored, and I learn where the command is, and it's pretty hands-on. So it's pretty fun and very useful. Okay, then basically these are the tracks that I compose in real time. My process usually is just going in a MIDI track, input the note, and what I really do, it's just most of the time input random note that I know. I set the arpeggiator on a key. So if it's on a key, in this case it's C minor, all of the note that I will input, no matter what, they're gonna be on that scale. So that helped me that if I want to add random note, I'm sure that they're gonna be always safe. So in this way, my approach to the live set is just like I adapt and surrender to what I do, and I adapt to what I'm hearing. And I like the idea to start with no idea and just a blank page, so I can really let the music go and try to adapt and here to create a set. It's kind of scary sometimes. It's kind of like I can get nervous because, you know, one day can sound amazing, another day can sound like shit, but I think it's the interesting part of doing music in this way. That said, okay, then the drum I input on the TR-8, not by the MIDI, so I have that separate, and it's easy to make sequence there, so that stay outside the MIDI chain. Okay, so these are basically my live Thru track. Track 5 and 6 are both independent track, and they play sample. So I don't really have plan of what to put on them. I have I load sample in the moment, whatever I like. Let's see. This is one from Arcray, is from the new Octatrack MKII Anniversary Edition sample pack. By the way, these things look so beautiful. Okay. So in this case, I mapped track 5 on these two column here. So I have, let's see, I have the delay send as exactly this other. Then I have a more full control on the, because I put a delay and a filter. And I decided to have more full control on the filter, so I added the depth knob. So I have, because it helped me to create more interesting thing. Every time I start, I always have to remember to slice. I already slice here, but I just see. Let's go 16. Probably the sample is not okay. All right, so these one are my filter. Then here I have the retrig and retrig time. So I can create very weird thing, and the following knobs are my pitch and rate. Here I have the LFO that control the pitch and the volume. So you hear it's, oh wow, what was that? I don't know. So it's very easy to get in some weird territory, and you do that, and then you can introduce back the kick. So you can create some weird soundscape, some weird effects going on, and then play on top of it. The track 6 is exactly the same as track 5, so I won't go through it. I usually use it more for drum loops that I already recorded. I like to slice them, and so it's pretty fun and easy to create things. I have mapped track 6 to these two row here. I mean, super fun. Okay. Then my track 7 is my resampler. So track 7 at this moment is, if I press yes, it will record the entire output of the Octatrack. So I'll show you. Press, now it's recording. And I set up the slider, when it's in A1, track 7 is muted. When I go to B, now you're listening to that. These two go as well on track B. They mute just this part. So let's do this. Let's record what happened here and I'll show you. So, now it's recording these two tracks. I recorded 16 step. Now if I go on B, let's remove all the steps. So we hear. So now we are hearing the input, and now we are hearing the recorded part. And this is mapped on these two here, and same, I have the delay here. This is the filter, this 4. This is retrigger time, and this is my pitch and rate. So as you can imagine, you can get to very weird territories. This I had back track 5. And again, if I got to a point where I don't know what happened, I can reload the part and everything will go to the initial state. So it's pretty convenient. Of course, when I do that, the sample that I load go to the sample that I saved on the part. So it will change probably everything, and I will lose what I'm doing now. So here, okay. So that's important to know when you want to do some transition, or you want to reset everything, to know where you're going, and maybe to save up the part ahead, so you know that where you're going maybe is a blank state for the sample track, so you hear just these guys. Okay. All right, I think I explained most of it. I have the last two tracks here doing something particular. So this column here, it works on the MIDI page. So this one, whatever MIDI track I have selected, so let's hear just one. Let's select track 2, and then it will change the note. And it will be on scale because I activated the scale, okay? Then the second one, it's the note length that actually depends on the sustain that I put. And this is pretty fun to use in conjunction with the arpeggiator. Let's turn it on. Let's put some note. There's a lot of reverb that we can tone down. This one, it's transpose the arpeggiator. This one change the speed of arpeggiator. And this is very interesting to do weird thing. And then I map this last to LFO. And LFO, I'm still not decided, but it changed the second note and the third note. So when you do arpeggiator, can create variation just moving these guys. Okay. The last of my column is the master track. So at this moment I'm using the master track, the track 8 as a master, because I like to use the delay freeze things that is very abused on the Octatrack. You know, it's kind of fun. So my FX2 is that, and I didn't map anything on this guy. I mapped the filter, so I have bass and width and Q and depth. So it's interesting to do this trick that I like. If you put steps on the master track, you can add some, you know, variation to what you're listening on the master. So sometimes I do that as a performance tool. Reset, and then the last knob is the master level. And I think that's about it for this guy. If you guys want to know how to map this quickly, I'll show you. But I might go, if this is interesting, to do in-depth tech review of the PC12, but it's pretty straightforward. You need basically your Octatrack MIDI chart, because you need to know, you can map everything. Each track is linked to a different channel. So I have track 1, channel 1, track 2, channel 2, etc., etc. You just go in the, so first you have many setup that you can, I don't know much, but I'll 30 setup. Each setup has more preset. I don't know the number, a lot. So you can save preset for different pages or different performance style, or you can have it actually this link to many different machines. It could be the Octatrack. There's a preset for the rhythm, and it's pretty incredible what you can do. Let's put some music in the background. And so let's say you go in Edit. When you're in Edit, you hold the blue button and you choose one knob or whatever, and it appears here the number of what you're doing. And then with this you select what that knob will do. So here you have the scale, you have the, if it works in CC or MIDI note, if it's snap or jump, meaning that you have to catch the last value, the channel where it's sent, and the CC number. So right now on channel 1, CC45, that it corresponds on the send of the reverb, of the delay. It's very, very simple, and you can copy. There's a tool to copy, for example, the first 2 rows in here, 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 here. So it's, once you wrap your head on what you want this guy to do, it's pretty easy to make it work. I might simplify what I did, because what I mapped, because I'm using, there's something that I don't really need. I don't use so far a lot the LFO. I need to learn on that, but I can simplify and use Furo to control my MIDI effects, and that could be very fun. I can also control something on the Vermona, like I think you can map the width of the square wave, maybe the cutoff. I think you can map the cutoff, so it could be fun to have it there. But you know, I like to use this guy hands-on. I'm really, really, really in love with what the performer can do. If you check the live that I'm doing on Twitch, and it's just random, an hour thing, only using this as a voice, synth voice, it's unbelievable the quality and the quantity of sound you can get, especially if you go in the more interesting and weird territories of like modulating the channel into itself. Boom. So the last thing that I'm still working on, honestly, it's how to use the most powerful thing on the Octa, that it's the slider. So right now I just set up few scene, classic, you know, filtering, some lo-fi effect, some reverb adding like for dub thing, but I want to work on the LFO to even get more experimental, to get into more experimental thing. Yes, that's about it. I think I explain in detail everything. Please let me know if you guys are interested in more video like this, if you want me to go more in detail with more example. But yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna jam a little. Well, hope you like this video, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.